disappearance of one's own child is a nightmare for every parent. It has been more than half a century since the disappearance of 13-year-old April Fabb. On the 8th of April, 1969th year, there is good weather. The sun is shining brightly and April is climbing on her bike. Easter weekend is coming, and a 13-year-old girl is planning a 4-kilometer trip to her sister's house. She is excited about delivering a gift of 10 cigarettes for her son-in-law's birthday. But the mustard gas will never reach its destination. Police have launched the largest search operation the county has ever seen. Since her disappearance, officers have visited more than 4,000 homes, conducted thousands of interrogations, accepted about 2,000 applications, and spent countless hours on the case, to the solution of which they have not been able to get closer. Retired Detective Maurice Morrison began working on this case back in 1983 and subsequently wrote a book about it. Middle-aged people know the face. The youngest of Ernest and Olivia Fabb's 3 daughters lived in Council House No. 3 in the village of Matton near the town of Mare. Her sisters Pamela and Diane have already moved out from their parents. The shy girl loved animals very much. They had a dog named Trudy. She had the interests of a typical teenager of that time: stamp collecting, sewing, and watching the BBC Tops program. Posters of her favorite band Emin Corner hung on the wall in her room. They hung there years after her disappearance, untouched by her parents, who hoped that their daughter would return home. The first signal of trouble came in the evening, on Tuesday, the 8th of April, when the girl did not return home. At 22:00, after the parents found out that April had not been seen all day, they raised the alarm. At the same time, the parents did not know about it. Her bike was found in a field near Matton. He was found by a passing driver. He took him with him and took him to the Cromer police station. This discovery confirmed the officers' fears that the girl did not just run away. In the early morning of the 9th of April, Norfolk's most experienced detective, Chief Reginald Lester, was called. He immediately assumed that the girl had been abducted. This case became the business of his entire subsequent life, until his death 48 years later. The search he conducted was the largest in the history of the Norfolk police. On the first day, he attracted 40 officers and all the police dogs of the district. The number of police officers involved was almost equal to the population of Matton. Members of the Shima Round Table were involved. A Royal Air Force helicopter. The police contacted the girl's distant relatives. Flyers with April's description flashed here and there. Height 162 centimeters, light brown hair, blue eyes. Her family clung to any hope. She is such a girl that if she saw primroses, she would immediately go to collect them, her father said. On Thursday, the second day after her disappearance, most of the locals helped in the search, trying to find the girl whom they all knew well. As stated by the Eastern Daily Press on Friday, it was a day of evidence. A bloody handkerchief with the letter embroidered on it was found. There were reports that a minibus was seen traveling at high speed in Matton on Tuesday afternoon. Passengers remembered a teenage girl who boarded a train to Norwich. The importance of this case has greatly increased. The security forces checked the lakes. Posters with the image of April were pasted up at nearby railway stations. Cafes and hotels were checked for its appearance. Friday, 3 days after she was last seen, her parents, through the press, appealed to her to return. They stopped closing the doors at night and left the porch light on. As more information became available, the police managed to reconstruct the picture of events. After April left Matton and went to her sister's, she saw 2 friends playing with scrap in a farmer's field. She also stopped to play with him and then went on. The last time a 13-year-old girl was seen by a Land Rover driver driving in the opposite direction. It was at 14:06. Minutes later, April's bike, lying on the field, was seen by 3 employees of the National Mapping Agency of Great Britain when they passed by. He was thrown over the almost 2-meter embankment of the country road along which April was driving. So what happened in those few minutes? Time passed, but the case did not move. As it turned out, a woman used a bloody handkerchief to bandage an abrasion on her son's knees. The drivers provided an alibi, and the escape version was discarded. Versions that April was abducted are being discussed in shops, women, and on every corner in general. The newspaper from the countries of the Daily Press said, adding that some still assume that she ran away and is afraid to return. All prayers were directed to support April's family, and local businesses transferred money to the reward fund for the discovery of the girl. However, positive developments could not cover the lack of progress. A month after her disappearance, the local newspaper headline read, "There is still no news about the missing schoolgirl." It was clear from the start that April had been abducted. This is a terrible crime, because for the last 50 years, there has not been a single reliable piece of evidence in this case. The case remains mysterious, and this only worsens the condition of her family and people who knew her. Without new discoveries, and in the absence of new evidence, public opinion soon weakened. Bags were found under the bike seat. 10 cigarettes for my son-in-law, 5 halfpenny coins, and a handkerchief. These items are still in the Norfolk Police Department's evidence vault. At the request of April's mother, her bicycle was destroyed many years ago. These things are under the jurisdiction of retired Detective Chief Andy Guy, who studied April's case in detail in 2005 and is engaged in it to this day. He believes that April was abducted by a maniac who was passing through Matin, or by a local resident, who was never seriously considered as a suspect. He continues to hope that the information needed to solve this case may be in the local community. Is there anyone who behaves strangely on the anniversary of April's disappearance or in the place where she was abducted? I think there is such a person, he says. In 1969, most likely, we did not fully study this issue. When you look at things from the current point of view, things come up that we didn't understand then. Today, the police have the means to automatically recognize car license plates, video surveillance, and recordings from mobile phones. Then everything was much more complicated. There were no witnesses, so the investigation was conducted in many directions. In the 2010 year, the police excavated a well near Matin. After the information that a local resident saw a black plastic film at the bottom of the well around the time of April's disappearance. The following year, there were reports that on the Easter weekend of 1969 year, a man was seen digging a grave in the district. The story of this disappearance in those places is passed down from generation to generation. So it always causes controversy and discussion. Maurice and Morse, who have been retired for more than 30 years, are still engaged in this case. Whenever the anniversary approaches, there are notes with new information under my door, and he says, "People draw maps, tell me their versions. They had a dream, they know someone who knows someone else. They have a version that they think we didn't put forward." One of the suspects in this case was Robert Black, a well-known Scottish serial killer who died in prison in 2016, while serving a sentence for murder in 986th year. It is described in the case of the disappearance of Jeanette. The circumstances of April's disappearance coincide with Black's course of action. He abducted his victims right off the roadsides. The police have not been able to prove his involvement in this case. Many locals assume that April's body was buried during the construction of the Bacton fuel terminal. However, the police claim that they have carefully examined the pipelines, but it has not brought results. After leaving, there is a memorial to the church that April went to. The tombstones, which are installed with money from the sales of Morson's book, are decorated with daffodils every spring. Shortly before the anniversary of April's disappearance, April's father died in 1998, and her mother in 2013. They were never able to find out anything about the fate of her daughter. April's sisters, who continue to live nearby, are receiving the latest information on the case from the police. Mr. Morson also maintains a close relationship with the Fabb family. April was supposed to be 64 years old in 2019. She should have been a grandmother by now. Every piece of news in the investigation causes new pain to her family. Father and mother died without knowing the truth. Our goal is to find the truth one day. But will we ever find her?